Oh boy. Hopefully this can be heard. But I'm on a 90 doing 90 driving home. Trying to stay awake, so let's talk about it. Anyways, one thing I forgot, one thing the pandemic did was make me realize like how like those conversations you'll have with random men pause about like, marriage and relationships. I remember when YouTube first started, a lot of the MRA, MGTOW, men's right conversations that happened in the early 2000s, it's like at the same time they were happening on social media, I was seeing it in real life. Like random dudes were just talking about some of the same shit and the problems with their marriage or whatever, and just random, like, I'm over here and two guys at a thrift store, like, oh, we're looking at records, and the one dude's like, yeah, I used to have a collection of records, and the only reason why I got them, I think it was like 16. It was worth, his record collection was worth like 16 G's, and he's like, yeah, that's the only reason why I got to keep that. My wife, I came home one day, she took everything, even the ice trays, but the only reason why she didn't take my records was because they were too heavy or some shit, the way he had them stacked, and she couldn't carry them. But she basically wiped them out and got, money from their marriage. But that's like a conversation. I overheard that, like, just looking at records, and these are 90% of the time is a white dude saying these stories, talking about this stuff, right? Which brings me to my point in this video, though, like, trying to sell marriage like the old traditional way of, I pay for everything. The Kevin Samuels, I'm paying for everything, I'm doing everything, a bunch of black men who just got money trying to implement an idea that not necessarily is being applied today. And just off my observation of, white men, you're not selling that to this next generation of dudes. And I know the funny thing is, like, black women generally will argue they don't have no gold, they don't have nothing to lose, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's funny, like, you always hear women when a dude be like, I pay $800 a month in child support, or I'll pay this much a month. They'll be like, that really ain't no money. But I'm like, if you're married to a guy who's sending that much money out the house every month, then that becomes some money. It's funny how that works. But the price of grass and the price of food, you're saying that ain't no money, but if that was leaving your house every week, every month, or every week, or whatever, how that works, you notice it then. But that's sort of the deflection. It's like, well, let's not talk about the men who aren't in that position. Let's talk about the men who are. And this white dude is he's a correctional officer, right? So I'm talking to him one day. His whole life story I got, every break we had, every time he let out child and shit. Basically, bust his ass, work hard, overtime whore, 33 years on the job. And he, his wife was cheating on him. This man telling me his whole life story. Like, I know more about this guy than anybody I've talked to in the last 2 years since the pandemic. That was my point. It's like, since the pandemic, I've missed these. I don't miss them, but I haven't had the encounters to have these conversations in person. It's crazy. Like, it's imagine how much that's messed up people, because they be out and about having these conversations with random strangers, and that was probably lost a lot with the pandemic and whatnot. But anyways, this guy, he's like ready to retire. He's like, yeah, they got that good grade when they can retire and they can match their salary. They do a bunch of overtime before they retire, working for the state, and then he's basically gonna make $100,000 a year off retirement doing nothing. And the more overtime he works, the longer he stays, the higher that's going up. And if he decides to stay or go retire and go do something else part-time, whatever. But anyways, we're talking, he's talking about how he had to pay his wife. She cheated on 32 years of marriage on and off. They separated for a period of time. He thought she got her act right because, being was a provider and a man paying for everything and doing all this. She wanted him back, but he thinking like, yeah, she want me back, whatever, because of this. But she's being a little thought box. She was out there, getting her back loan out, alcohol, all that other stuff, and she left him. They got back together. Then he had enough because he cheated again. So he was done with her, sent her back to the streets, kind of late, 32 years, dog. And the guy's like 63 years old. I thought he was like 55 or something. I just said that. He don't look old. He's in his 63 years old. But he looked like he could be in his mid-50s. But I was like, he was like, yeah, I had to pay her. He's like, how much? Basically, because I asked him how much was in deferred comp. I like to ask the old timers how much money they invested in deferred comp, because you hear the guys who were idiots and they only put 3% in, and now they're about to retire in the next few years, and they realize, oh shit, I fucked up. I should have been every year, add another percentage and all that other stuff. But life happens. Divorces happen, obviously. You get hurt on the job, you take it off. Like, stuff happens, and moments happen in life that you mess it up. I know somebody that took her deferred comp off, her dumb ass thinking, oh, I got a raise. Like, she thinking she got a higher percentage of a raise because she was getting like an extra 10% in her check. But that was the 10% she usually had going for her deferred comp. But she was out on comp, and she took it off, because everybody does that when you want more of your money because you're not getting your full paycheck. But anyways, her dumb ass didn't realize for 10 years she was getting the money that should have been invested in her deferred comp. She was getting her check, and she didn't think like, maybe this is weird. Like, I know our pay grade, I know our raises happen, I know when there's a new contract negotiated, so it should, you know what I mean? Like, that was just dumb on her part. But anyways, so he's saying he had to chop her out, and the deal he made with her was, in the mediation, he said he didn't go through regular lawyers, was she could get his deferred comp instead of him having to pay her alimony. No, not my bad. Instead of her getting his pension, that's what he wanted, right? So he signed up for that. So basically, she got $500,000 between his deferred comp and paying the lawyers and all that. He lost $500,000, about almost $400,000, and it was funny when he said that amount, because a person I talked to who's also in the same job, never got married, was with a woman, had a kid with her, helped raise his stepdaughter, had a kid with the woman, together 20-something plus years, never married her. They broke up. She went her way, he went his way. And guess what? When he walked out of the job, 25, again, he only did 25 years. This guy's on his 33rd year, still busting his ass, still cutting himself for overtime. Like, literally gets, like, 2 shifts pay period is enough for me. Like, I'm good. Like, that's, and the more I make, the less that matters to me. But these guys, he's making $170K as a blue shirt, though, right? He's making $170K with his base salary is like 90. Let's do that math. But yeah, and it's just as he said that amount of money, I'm thinking of another situation of a black guy who never married this lady, was with her for 20-something years, probably doing his thing, obviously, in that business, in this job. There's a lot of on the road, not home for years. Shit happens. But he never married her, but he walked away clean. He still look out for her, still take care of her. She need anything, he got her, all that. They probably still blow each other back out, whatever, whatnot. But he didn't lose anything because he did not marry her. He got to retire. He's 55 years old, 57 now. He's been retired for a few years. But he left the job at 55 years, house paid off, got his little car, his day-to-day driver, got his little Benz. The hell is that beat for? Low pressure. He got his Benz and whatnot. House is paid off. And he's just chilling. He's not even trying to go do nothing part-time. He's thinking about going down south to go live with his family or whatever. Like, the world is at his oyster. He can do whatever the hell he want to do. He didn't have to bust it. He did bust his ass from behind my back. He did the same thing with the overtime before he retired too, but because that helps your pay go up or whatever. But I'm sure this guy obviously is gonna have a bigger pension. And this guy is 63, so he'll be able to collect his pension, whatever's left of his deferred comp, and his Social Security. This other guy, the black guy, he's not old enough to collect Social Security yet, so he's, obviously the white guy's getting more money in his retirement because he worked the extra 15 years after he could have retired already. No, not 15, 33 years, like 7-8 years extra. But anyways, that like popped in my brain like, yo, this, you not getting married, you're not losing any assets, you're not losing any wealth. And I'm like, this is gonna be a hard sell. Like the man up, the Rollo Tomasis, the Tucker Carlsons. Go out there, be a cog in the wheel, get a wife, pay all the bills, let her have the ability. I can't sell that in 2020 to no young guy. I haven't had enough conversations with men to know that that's not a thing anymore. And then, even if you get a prenup, them shits have expiration dates. Them shits are not respected in New York, where I live. Judges will throw that shit out in a heartbeat, you know. So even doing that route or going that route, which I'm saying, if you got $500,000 in your gut, or if you got more than $100,000 in your damn 401k or your retirement or whatever, your deferred account, absolutely, you definitely shouldn't get married without, unless you marry somebody who's making the same amount of money in the same situation as you. You shouldn't not get married without a prenup, even though they can be thrown out or be messed with, whatever. But the whole, you know, every time we got up to do something, I had to talk. We was talking, and I'm just like, as I'm like, yo, holy shit, like, and he's just like depressing. And he even talked about, like, because, you know, in his job, New York doesn't play even for civilians when it comes to like the domestic abuse and all this shit. And I'm like, did they take your guns or whatever? Because that's generally, you know. And he's like, his wife, yeah, she tried to lie and say he put hands on her, but he luckily had a witness before everything could happen. He turned all his guns in. But I could tell in the nods and the winks, like, you know, his boy stopped him from going to do something stupid. You gotta think, this chick is getting $500,000 from you. She was cheating on you damn near your entire marriage. Like, you know, that's either, with the white dudes especially, a delete yourself or delete somebody else situation right there. But, and like, I could obviously see through our conversation that could have been on his mind, or was a possibility, or, you know, it was close to happening. And he got over that. You know, he's still talking about it with complete strangers often, you know, but it's still bothering him. But he's like, you know, he's like, oh yeah, and this other thing he said too is like, even though she's not getting his pension, right? He's gonna make about $100K, retired, doing nothing. That's not even with getting his Social Security yet, and whatever he got left in his deferred account, because she wiped it out. He had to cash it out and give her $400,000. House paid off. He said his 3 kids, but the youngest daughter lives with him. She hates the mom. The son is pretty much doing his own thing, so that means he not dependent upon him for nothing. He said, what did he say? He said the way he set up his life insurance, anything happens to him, his daughter will get $70,000 for the rest of her, you know, forever, until she dies. And he said that cost him about $20,000 a year to do that, to have it set up that way in his life insurance policy. So everything is straight. His daughter's gonna be good if something happens to him. The house is paid off. Only thing he got, he said, is his truck note, and he does have to pay her maintenance, which is spousal support. But he has to pay her, I think he said he has 4 years. Let me recall. Yeah, he only got 4 years left of paying her that. And after that, he's done. He don't gotta pay her no more. And that's $1,500 a month. So his only bills is his car note and his regular rent. Regular lights, gas, shit like that, and his truck payment. But 63-year-old, I'm trying to stay focused, I'm driving. 60-something-year-old white dude, retired, will never think about getting married again. And he's just done. And he's about to go off in the sunset. Hopefully he doesn't, you know, he stays busy and doesn't do nothing, you know. But could have lost his guns, could have, you know, deleted himself, could have been in jail for, if his friend didn't stop him that night from doing whatever, you know. But yeah, listen to this story, Mike. There's no way I could sell that to some young man especially who's got money, or putting himself in a position to not get with a woman who makes money, her own money, or equal, or in a ballpark as him. It's not a sell that you can make. Especially looking at, like, damn, I know dudes who, not even that I'm encouraging the black guy who didn't marry her and, you know, and was doing whatever. But he said, fudge it. I'm not giving up my pension. I'm not giving somebody half my shit. I'm just not going to marry you after being with somebody for 20-some years. Now, it was her fault, obviously. She could have walked away at any moment. The moment she realized, she could have gave him a clock or a time, like, yo, even though she was doing the wifely, he was providing and taking her to the house and doing it like they were married. They just weren't. And obviously, that's why women would say, don't do that, because when it's over with, you don't get shit. But on the flip side, men will say, well, that's why I'm not going to do that, so I don't do shit. I'm not going to lose shit. There's a lot to lose. And it's just, that was a lot to process in that little, every 10, 15 minutes we coming out, letting our child having these conversations. And I was like, damn, like, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine giving somebody my deferred comp. I couldn't imagine me busting my ass doing my overtime, and throwing all of it in there so I don't get taxed, and then cashing it out, getting taxed, and then gotta give it to somebody who was doing dirt to me in the marriage. Because he's like, yeah, she had cars, she had jewelry, she had purses. He did all that provider shit. He did all that spoiling shit, and she still was just your wife. And for her to be able to walk away and still do that. He said she still tried to be cordial and, talk to him and whatever. He's like, I'm good. I'm good, love, enjoy. But that's just, I can't, again, I keep saying it, but how do you sell that to the young man? How do you sell a man to sign up for that? Like, be in a position, yeah. Be the head of your household, yeah. But everybody freaks out over 50-50, but I mean, I'm not a 50-50 type of person, but 70-30, 60-40 maybe, most likely, depends on the situation. But when you take on that sole situation and you're the only income and you're the main provider, if that shit don't work out, dog, you still gonna be doing that even when she's gone. And how do you get young men to sign up for that? I have no words to say to, go do that. And that's the beauty of this day's world, is like, most young people ain't doing that. Most young couples that I know, their relationships are more egalitarian. That's just by proxy. The black community is a gynocracy. Gynocracies don't produce patriarchies. They produce black men who are egalitarian, less sexist, if they want to say it. More likely to just don't care about some of this shit that other groups of men care about. We're more likely to have a female pastor than any other group of men. We're more likely to have female leadership at work and not be, it be a problem or affect us, because we're used to that. We come from that. But trying to sell that to some young men, I can't do it. Like, as much as I respect some of the like Dr. Vodi Balcom or those more evangelical people on the right, intellectuals, this whole be a cog in the wheel and go out there and do this and all that, you can't sell that shit, dog. It's over for that. It's over for that. Like, it's no way, especially when there's so many examples. One thing I find funny too, like, because the black women will compare us to white men, or say, well, the white men and Latino men, they're happy to pay the alimony. They're happy to pay, all this other shit. No, the fuck they're not. You hear the ultra wealthy, like Chris Rock made that joke, like, and look what happened to him. He had a prenup, showing the last 20 years, still got $35 million out of his $65 million net worth. But he made the joke, she can have half, I'm good, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, cool for you, but you don't hear the other side of that. When you about to go delete something, that part, or, you know what I mean? Like, some of these dudes are happy to pay you to go away. I've heard dudes say that. I heard this Puerto Rican dude was like, yeah, I got divorced, blah, blah, blah. She took everything, I all over, but I was happy to get rid of her, and that's what I had to pay up to get rid of her, and that was what it was. Another black dude I work with, divorced twice. lost everything, started all over every time. But he said, admitted, I was a piece of shit husband. I was out there in the streets doing whatever. So cars, houses, he lost in both divorces, started all over both times. And she got it. He's like, it is what it is. It's not like he had a choice though, but he was like, I charged this to the game. Like it was karma. And the messed up thing though, when he finally was settling down, trying to be the right type of husband, he had a wife who was sick, so he had to take care of her. But he's not even, he's older, so he's not in an economic, in a position. He's lost opportunities, lost jobs and stuff like that, starting all over, to where he was working at a spot where he wasn't even making as much money as he was in those first 2 marriages. But yet, now he's being and he can't, because he has to be there to take care of his wife. He needs a job where he has the flexibility to be able, when she's in the hospital, when she's sick, he needs a job where he can go do that. Jobs that pay well, you don't really get that option. But that's not an argument. When women say, well, the white guys, they get divorced and they happy to pay their alimony, their child support, blah, 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 all this stuff. Like, some of them may be, but some of them are just, they just paying to get rid of the chick and move on with their lives. I'd be pissed the fuck off if I had to give somebody $400,000. I'd be $100. I don't care what the amount is. It's like funny how like the liberal-minded person will be like, it's just property. I don't subscribe to that logic because it's time. Because I spent money buying that property. That was sacrificing time away from my family, time away from my hobbies, my other dreams and goals. So it's not just property, it's deeper than that for me. So when someone says that, it's just money, and like, no, when you gotta give somebody, chop out $400,000 that's been treating you like shit your entire marriage and about to go get her black blown out by some other dudes and spend all that money somewhere else, it's not just money, it's my time. I wasted years. I shortened my lifespan by dealing with the job. That's not even getting into the psychological problems from being in a job in the first place. That's why they don't play games with any type of law enforcement when it comes to domestic abuse, spousal abuse, even threats. Like if your woman says you did anything as a police officer, state trooper, anything, they come and take your guns. The department is, not the state, but if you have guns on your badge, you gotta turn them shits in. And it gets handled out and gets, situated. And then everything's clear, you get your shit back, but they're taking your weapons, whatever you have in your badge. Because they know, what does that say about, the statistic? I don't know if it's true or not, but you always hear the talking point that the spousal abuse numbers are high or whatever. And then that's the situation we're sticking to, because it's like, who she's gonna call, another cop to come tell that the cop was beating on her or whatever. So I get it, I respect that has to be a thing, but I don't like how easy it is. Just the accusation alone means you no longer have the ability to protect yourself, because again, you're still a cop, still a police officer, you're still gonna run into one of these poopies and ravens on the street, somebody that was on your block a while ago or whatever, and they got issues. Couldn't even been you, but it could have been a different officer that was a dirtbag treating them like shit, and they would take it on to you. So what happened in New York City though, I don't know, he was an undercover, he was an off-duty cop, but he got his ass beat up and jumped, whatever. That happens all the time. I hear stories all the time about, the guy, that same guy told me, he was like, we were talking about guns still, he's like, yeah, he had one of his boys that went to a bar or whatever after work, and he went to go pay for his drink, and some big dude was at the end of the bar, not even saying nothing to him the whole night. Just, he must have saw his badge when he went to pay for his drinks, and dude waited outside and beat the shit out of him, almost killed him. And he's like, if it wasn't for a state trooper driving by, he would have been dead, because the dude just beat the hell out of him because he saw that badge. He ain't had nothing to do with him. So think about that though. It's like, with this the words, believe all women, just the accusation alone, you lose your ability to defend yourself, your property or whatever, because of an accusation. I don't agree with that part. But I also understand, based on the statistics and data, they don't want to play with that. It makes the department look bad when you got dudes up there beating their wives and shit, or deleting themselves, deleting them. Especially when it's a job kind of like the military or any type of law enforcement, where like the job is fucking stressful. You're dealing with fucking murderers and rapists and criminals. You gotta be something wrong with you. So that's why we're the only department that we only keep, well, our AR-15s aren't loaded to the full capacity, I'll put it that way. They want us to actually stop and think and reload. They don't want us to just dump a 30-round mag on a bunch of incarcerated individuals. Even if like it was a ride or whatever, they want you to stop, pause. No, everything else is full. Shotgun is full. The Glock 17 is full. But the AR, like, nah, these motherfuckers crazy. We don't think we should give these dudes 30-round mags. Let them have to stop and reload for a little bit and think about what they're doing. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. And something to keep me awake while I'm driving 90 on the 90. Nah, I'm not driving that fast. I don't speed. But yeah, like, I can't sell it to young men. I can't encourage you to go out and be on that. I mean, it's a trade-off to everything in life. I believe there are no solutions, just trade-offs. But if you go on that and do that and it don't work out, which we know that the statistics on divorce and whatnot, especially when you get married younger, right? You know, that can happen. And it's not every woman, because again, I had a female friend who, I don't know, she could have took dude for a lot in their divorce, and she chose not to. She didn't want to do that. He was being manipulative and all other shit, but the little shit she was asking for, like, she was a stay-at-home wife. He didn't want her doing this and doing that. Even when she worked with him, damn, it's hot as fuck. When she worked with him to run his business, she didn't even take a paycheck. She invested it back. She invested it back into the company. But when it was over and said and done, because, you know, he was doing his dirt, whatever, this dude was like not trying to do the bare minimum. And in that situation, she only wanted him to continue to pay the bills, the rent. But she had her lawyer break down to her, like, it's a calculator. I talked about this in the video, but it's a calculator. It's just an estimate. But it's a calculator on the New York State website that tells a woman how much she could possibly get based on the number of years married, how many kids they got, how much money he made. And then what she knew that he didn't know was, like, they're not going to just look at what you take home. They're going to look at what the business made. Because obviously there's tricks and little things you could do to hide money when you got a business and write stuff off. And he thinking like they're going to just go up by what he paid himself. Like, no, they're going to go through everything. But long story short, she could have got him. She could have, you know, 3 kids, married 7, 8 years. He was the sole provider. She could have got him and didn't want to. Again, that's rare. And she out there trying to raise 3 kids, 4 kids, my bad. 4, 3 boys and a girl. And still bust her ass and go back to school and do all other shit. And she's not even trying to make him pay. Like, she could do all the shit to him and she didn't want to. When he wasn't doing the bare minimum, I said, do what you gotta do, go get him, right? If you're not doing the right things, I understand when you get smoked. But if you were a good husband and a good provider, and then you still gotta do that shit, that's kind of fucked up. Again, no solutions, just trade-offs. That's the system, that's the way it is. But every woman isn't like that. Some women don't want nothing from the dude, or I just think he manipulated her a lot and got away with some shit, in my opinion, because if you only asking for $1,500 and then buy food, $1,500 a month to pay the rent, because it was everything included in the apartment, and continue to buy food, and that's it. That's all she wanted, and he wasn't trying to do that, or he was not being consistent with what they agreed on. I'm like, if he keep, you know, I told her, like, if he don't follow what y'all agreed on, you're gonna have to go to court. It is what it is. But yeah, it's almost like y'all better off both having money and both having, like, the way the system's set up is like that 2 incomes. That shit is like, it's inevitable now. Not just for survival, but so nobody losing nothing if it don't work out. And I get that can have an effect on the household and all that, and raising children and whatnot, but It is what it is. But there's no way in hell I could sell the Kevin Samuels. I pay all the bills. And then in divorce, you pay all the bills. Still, why you not with her no more? Ah, that's crazy. That's my video, I'm out.